this?
I don't know what that is.
Hey everyone, we're live, you guys. We are
Woo!
very live. Welcome to the Big Brown Army debate coverage, 2020 presidential debate. I have with me our usual co-host, Ray. Say hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
Just so you could tell the difference between Jordy and Ray. Just want to make sure you guys understand who's who, even though it's written down there. And Jordy, representing with
Ray.
Jordy with the American flag in the background representing.
She has the American flag and I have America. So it's
bless you.
Very nice, very nice.
And
I have a blank
America today.
I was born in Libya, you guys. So this is what happens. Anyway, so we are here. Just to let you guys know, I'm probably going to do this. There's two people watching. Is that Sean, Jordy, who's watching this?
Oh, maybe. Or maybe it's my mom. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, go ahead and say hello in the chat, and I will pop it up here. Oh, here we go. And I'm going to mute this. Okay.
I am Instagramming this business.
All right.
So don't mind me.
Yay.
Okay, so we have a couple people watching. Thank you for joining us. I'm letting everybody know if you guys want to. Well, if you guys want to.
Ray already has questions.
I know, man. Ray, just give me a second. Jeez.
We need answers now to Cruz. We're just going to harass
Play
you.
it cool. Just be cool about
it. So, basically, we're using the C-SPAN feed, you guys. So there's a very big chance that we might lose this during the live broadcast. So if that happens, oh look, Jordy.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, hi, Jordy's mom.
Look, isn't my mom pretty? Look, her face is blocking out Ray's. Making my
day.
Hi,
leave
Ray.
It there.
Hi, Mr. Connor.
Should just leave that picture there.
And Julie George. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie George.
Hi, Julie.
Thanks for watching. Nice. So, yeah, that's a good setup. I like how this works. I'll turn the audio feed on. Actually, look at this, dude. The Trump family is now in attendance.
Wow.
So things are getting real.
Are you going to hit us with that audio? Oh, there it is.
So, guys, what I'm thinking is that as the debate is happening, we quietly watch and then, have reactions occasionally, but like we don't try to talk over when the debate, when the speakers are speaking. And then there will be pauses. My understanding is that Donald Trump asked for a drug test for both candidates.
How did one of my children already escape?
Can we drug test Chris Wallace as well?
We should. Oh wait, let's hear what Chris Wallace has to say.
No, let's not hear what. I can't. Hey, Sean. Oh no, there's a dog in here too. Perfect.
Can you guys hear Chris Wallace right now?
I cannot hear Chris Wallace.
I can't hear him either. So I wonder if it's a problem with the feed on their end. So that's okay.
They're like, oh, he doesn't have anything important to say right now.
I'm sure it's it's C-SPAN's technical issue, not ours.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. But I'll leave it on low.
Are we doing this on C-SPAN 2 instead of C-SPAN just so it gives us less chance of getting booted?
That's a great idea. But I think C-SPAN 2 probably has like the New Zealand Prime Minister's questions going on right now. So
yeah, that's true.
Some obscure thing. Just as a test, can one of you guys, if you have like an iPad or something, can you open up this particular the C-SPAN live stream and just see if the audio is working for them? I just want to make sure that it's not us.
Okay. C-SPAN 2.
Wait, it's not C-SPAN 2.
Oh,
it says C-SPAN 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to
get
C-SPAN 2.
You're right. It is C-SPAN 2. So we can hear this. I might have to switch the feed up, but I'm also kind of scared Hey, if you're new here watching Big Brown Army for the first time, we're also watching it for the first time, actually. But feel free to go to bigbrownarmy.com to check out our RSS feed where we post all the episodes. Wow, there's somebody with the Make
There's a
America Great
lot
hat
of
sitting there.
Botox on the screen right now.
And that's
A
I
lot
think
of
that was the
Botox.
MMA. I think
A
that was
lot of
the MMA
extensions.
fighter Colby Covington, the guy with the hat on. He was the
Hey,
UFC
okay.
that's
fighter.
okay. I can't ever tell the Trump children apart. This is
That's
which one
Eric.
is this?
That's Eric.
That's Eric Trump. Okay.
Mhm.
And then Donald Trump Jr. is the other one.
Mhm. Can you tell Barron? Can you tell the young one apart from the grown-ups?
Dude, Barron is tall for a 13-year-old.
I
He
don't
is
think he's
a giant.
13. Is he 13?
He's like younger
He's
than
got-
that, maybe, right?
He's got
I
good
hear clapping
genes.
now.
Okay. All right, let's get going. The Biden camp asked for breaks every 30 minutes, and the Trump campaign refused. Oh, that's Melania.
That's so funny.
I don't understand. Is a mask
Who's
on or
the
mask
the
off type
other
of situation?
Trump daughter?
Tiffany.
Tiffany, yeah.
Come on, you guys. You need to bone up on your Trump family
Right.
dynasty before you get on here.
Wow.
I don't need to do that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer says she can hear the sound, so we're good to go.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
Yay.
Feel free to comment, criticize, whatever. If you hear us say opinions that are just, not up to par.
Melania should have been wearing that "Does anybody really care" jacket tonight.
No, it's I don't really care, do you?
Do you from
Oh,
the
yeah. That's right.
I can't believe I posted a video on YouTube today. I mean, on Instagram today, highlighting this.
You did? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it wasn't in the stories. I didn't know how to do that, so it just ended up on the feed.
I thought
So-
you did do an Insta story.
Oh, there it is. Oh, nice.
I'm wearing the same shirt.
And Julie George is the only one that liked it. So Julie George is
Thank
a
you.
real ride or die fan.
Thank you, Julie. Supporting us from day one.
I love the chairs that they have in the audience. I want those in my house.
I was just gonna
So-
say, these are classy chairs.
They're like a nice mid-century modern chairs.
Yeah.
I like how Ray's noticing the furniture. What the hell are we waiting
Oh
for?
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, the actual debaters to come out. I think sounds like.
What are they saying?
Okay, real quick before they show up.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, there's no audio coming from the feed.
Maybe
I think Joe Biden is going to outright win this debate, and here's why. One out of the last 7 election cycles where there's been an incumbent, the incumbent has lost every single time. 6 out of 7 times the incumbent has lost. Number 2, Trump's campaign made a tactical error by really downplaying Joe Biden's skills leading up to this, which was a huge mistake. And because they've done that, I think if Biden, I mean, just like at the Democratic National Convention, if Biden can just literally stand up there and not collapse, he's going to win. I mean, that's how easy they've made it, especially by asking for drug tests before. So,
I love how Trump's people tried way too late to backtrack on that
yeah,
and start putting out fluff about Biden and his debate performances.
yeah.
Like a week before.
Interestingly, there's a tweet from October 2012 where Donald Trump tweeted out and said, Joe Biden has done this for years. He knows what he's doing. So don't count him out yet in the debates. So interesting.
That's fake news.
pick a lane. Like, who's
There's a
here?
tweet for everything with Trump. There's always a tweet.
Chris
Good
Wallace
evening.
looks great.
Oh, here we go.
There he goes.
Education campus of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic. I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the 2 candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience
Not
here
even
in
an
the
elbow
hall
bump.
has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
I make no promises on the booze.
You know that UFC fighter is going to be cheering for Trump during this
I
thing.
know. Are they going to look at each other and just do a head nod? Oh, there we go.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight: why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences.
That's
We
an
have the
Obama
Senate,
quote.
we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick
Hey, that's a
Garland,
good smile
but
from
the problem is
Joe
they
Biden
didn't
there.
have the election, so they were stopped. And
Quiet you.
probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. And
That
Thank you,
tie.
Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Joe.
The American people have a right to have
The
a say
Twilight
who the
Zone.
Supreme Court
I don't
nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person. But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point,
I feel like he looks less orange today.
she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the
Elections
100
are-
million people,
That's-
Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know
Joe.
where you got that number.
Joe.
The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to
But
extinguish
Joe
180
definitely had the
million
best response to
people
this that the
with their
Democrats could have
private
had,
healthcare, that
which
they're
is to
very
pivot to
Simply not
healthcare.
true.
They had to
you're
tie it
certainly
to
going
that.
Socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This-
socialist.
You can't attack
We're now into,
Amy.
gentlemen, we're now
Amy
into
Barrett.
open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23
Linda has some
of
strong
my
thoughts on
colleagues
this.
trying to win the nomination that I won. We're saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has
That
said.
is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine.
party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic
the
Party
party.
right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by
Distance
the way,
himself.
the 200 million, the
From
200,000
the far
people that
left.
have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing conditions?
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
that.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban,
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President,
You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr.
Much
President,
later.
Trump is not going to
Talking
follow
about
the
2
rules
million people.
tonight.
You're not going to be able
President,
to
as
shut
a
him up.
I don't.
moderator,
When did COVID come up?
we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
me
Let's
finish.
keep it
The point
organized.
Is that
Wow.
the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade? That's on the ballot as well in the court.
On
And
the
so
ballot in
that's
the court.
Also at stake right now.
Hmm.
So the election is all.
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Wow.
Because
That's what I'm
It's not on the
saying.
ballot.
it's on the ballot in the
I don't
court.
think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a
her view
Oh.
of Roe v. Wade.
I
You
don't
know
know.
her
Fireworks.
well, all right, let's talk.
Okay, I think Trump's
We got a lot
team
to
has
unpack here, gentlemen.
told
We got a lot of
Trump to
time,
just
so-
attack
on
to
healthcare,
get under
and
Biden's
then we'll
skin.
come back to Roe v.
And
Wade.
this is what
All
we're
right.
seeing as
Mr.
a
President,
result.
the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last
Because they
If
want to
I-
give
if I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I may ask my question,
Gosh.
good health care.
over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you an
rid of
opp-
the
I'm gonna-
individual
when I finish, I'm going to
mandate.
give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That's
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
Obama. That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst part of
didn't ask,
Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe.
I
The
know.
individual
geez.
mandate was the most unpopular
Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like you
And we
to,
will
Mr.
protect people with
President, I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you
Wow.
to let me ask
I have
my question,
never
and
seen
then
this
you can
before.
answer your
Go
question.
ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump healthcare plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something.
Dang.
There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care.
What about
All of the
pre-existing
things that
conditions?
we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
healthcare.
give you an example, insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people. The cost, I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth. So cheap. Look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny
As
fraction.
I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about,
big-
you'll
this
be
is
happy,
big stuff.
sir.
Oh,
You'll
my
be
gosh.
happy. I'm about to pick up on
This
one of your
is-
points.
people
to
can't
ask the
follow
Vice
this.
President, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare. And
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will, if I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
No,
Did he
end
just
Party
apologize?
said, by the way.
it will end private insurance and create a government takeover of healthcare.
It does
Your
not.
response
It's
to that?
only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie
Number-
I who's
I
far
did-
left on the manifesto,
when
we
you-
call it.
when
And that
manifest-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
I'm not
you
going to
didn't
listen
agree?
to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by
I'm-
much.
He interrupts
I
more than my
beat him a whole
4-year-old.
lot. I'm here,
Not by
I'm here
This is-
standing facing you, buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2
I
days
tell
early.
you
You would
Wow.
We have our
Tuesday.
first
You
Pocahontas
got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal.
sighting.
I got
Should we
very
play a
lucky. I'm
drinking
very
game
lucky to know
every
this
time
well.
he interrupts?
And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agreed.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make
Wow.
I
sure.
graduated last in your class.
This is
I'm
a
first in
I-
your
debacle right now.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
He doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Go
the
on,
wrong
go on,
night
Joe.
at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders
Oh.
in the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Look, Jack.
Jeez, let him
There
talk,
is no
man.
Manifesto number
Please let
one.
him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders.
He's
on a
just going to
plan.
yell over him the whole night.
Folks,
Yeah,
absolutely
I'm
agreed
just-
to.
Do you have any
And under that
idea
plan,
what
you
this
have
clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it
Mr.
Ooh.
Do you
Mr.
have any
President,
do?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I
President,
tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care
Who is?
because
Bernie?
because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two,
yeah.
there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a
But-
much lower price
But,
because
and by the way,
Obamacare
he
is
doesn't know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has
Obamacare,
never.
Did they cut his
done
mic?
a
As you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
Obamacare
realize
is
They're
no
going to
good.
have to
speaking at the
start
same
cutting
time.
someone's
It's-
mic.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better. And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the
Not
individual
true.
mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay. I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what
And
he-
I just had a meeting with them. They said the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people
we
say.
do want to
No,
get
no,
rid of it.
it's
Chris,
an
we
open
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir, but
something
I have
that's
to
cheaper
give
and
you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care.
Of course we do.
Sends,
Please.
he sends out
Gosh.
wishful thinking. He has
I don't even
executive
know what to
no
say.
Power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about.
I think he's just
He
trying to get
does
under
not have a
Biden's
plan.
skin
He doesn't
and
have a
trying to
plan.
get him to trip
And the
up.
fact is,
If
this man
Trump
doesn't
says
know what he's
you're
talking
fired
about.
All right,
during
I
the
have
course
one-
of
I
this
have one
evening,
final
will you buy
question
me
for you.
dinner,
Sure.
DeCruz?
Will
Absolutely.
you buy me
President-
10 dinners?
Senate
One dinner.
Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here.
If he says,
Senate
you know what would have
Republicans
happened,
go
I would have
ahead
said, you're
and
fired.
confirm Justice Barrett. There has been talk about ending the filibuster.
I feel like we don't
or
need a
even
bad lip
packing
reading
the
of this
court,
debate.
adding to
Like,
the 9
this
justices
is
there.
it.
You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in,
Well, I'm
in the
saying-
Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now.
Wow, he
Vote
got
and
hard
let your
camera right.
senators know how
Are you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to
a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would
because
you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who is
shut
your
up, man?
listen? Who is on
Wow.
your
This is
Oh.
so-
Right. Gentlemen,
this is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
We have
He's
end- no,
not
no.
going to give a
We
list.
They're
have
not gonna
ended
make
this
it to
segment. We're gonna move on to
7:30.
The second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't
Chris has to take control, man. Chris
They're not
Wallace
gonna
has to
make
take
it.
Control.
it? They sure did.
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
Oh,
All right.
The-
The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are.
Ooh,
That's
good
why
line.
it is. The president
Good line.
has no plan.
Wow.
He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job
I don't
Xi
believe
was
that's
doing.
true,
He
actually.
said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan.
Wrong.
I laid out
Sir,
back
it's
in
just 2
March
minutes.
exactly
it's so
what we
wrong.
should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be
Hey,
doing.
Trump's being a good
We
boy
should be
right
providing
now.
all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and
Speaking
fund
of
what needs
bunkers.
to be done now to save lives.
So if
Wait,
we
wait,
would have listened
Wait,
to
wait,
you,
you have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done,
Fair.
I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you
It's
didn't think I should
unrelated
have
to
closed
your
our country.
COVID.
No,
Wait a
sir,
minute.
It's his 2 minutes.
Oh,
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns.
I'm
got
actually
the
really
masks,
surprised at
we made
how well
the
Trump's doing
ventilators.
right
You
now.
wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in swine
I
flu.
know.
H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There was-
Far
no,
less
there was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
you made a
by the way.
point. Let him answer it.
And there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where
It's
you
good
lost
imagery.
your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
people?
Far
That is-
more people.
And
You would have been
And by the way,
months late.
your own
You were
his
months
his
behind me,
own his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine. We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives.
God.
It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I
So
call them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what
that
I
the
call them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui,
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He
Dr.
said it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about when
after
it's
that.
generally available. not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering
the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a
That's what
miracle.
everyone thought.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it.
Okay, that's not
That
true.
was-
The
That
bleach
didn't
thing is not
happen.
true.
That didn't
I would have
happen.
said sarcastic.
And so here's the deal: this man is talking about a vaccine. every serious company is talking
He
about
didn't want to use
maybe
the
having a
UV light
vaccine
inside the body,
done
though.
by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up though.
You'll have
on
the
that-
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you can't,
Everybody
or
knows.
Senator
And
Harris is saying you
no,
can't trust the
No,
scientists.
well, no, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She
the
said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be
Yes.
suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great
Interesting.
hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the
spoke
way,
to the
and Fauci,
scientists that are in
by
charge.
the way,
They will have
and
the vaccine very
does-
soon.
Let him finish.
do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years
bit
you've done
much.
nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
who's-
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
It's like
If you would've
unnecessary.
had
We've like, I don't
the
know.
charge of what I was put through. I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
You see,
and
he-
it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast. I look
Okay.
forward to talking.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to
Tell
provide
that to
them
Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to
See,
Nancy
you know,
Pelosi. And
and
Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the
Okay.
Senate.
But-
And he sits on his golf course. And I mean,
Nah.
literally,
Okay.
think about it.
You probably
All right,
play
think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
Oh.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact
Well, he
What is
wants to
that?
shut down this country,
Oh.
and I want to keep it open. And we
You
did
ju-
a
he
great thing
just
by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe. Just for 1 second.
Speaking of
We wanna-
shutting things
He
down,
wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we
my
didn't know anything
goodness.
about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election.
All right,
on
I
November
want to
3rd.
move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to
threat.
another
I
subject.
gotta
But
respond
those,
to that.
I
but
wanna
those
move-
states,
gentlemen, I
those
wanna move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
which is
right
gotta
now.
now.
respond to that.
President
shut down
Trump,
the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to. But I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say, I will say
Vice
this.
President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open
There's no,
businesses.
shouldn't be any mask
is
shaming
wherewithal
here.
to be able to- We provided money. The
But I was
Congress,
asking you, sir, about masks.
well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite. They've
And
also said
no serious person said the opposite.
That's not true.
serious-
All right, I wanna
Dr.
ask you-
Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He
opposite.
did
I
not
want
say
to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
Masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good.
I
I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both
masks.
about one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
outside.
Outside, yes, sir. Great. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people with.
That's true. Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why are you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars, and
about
we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference. According to the
Tulsa was,
experts.
yeah,
But we
that's
do
not
them
true.
outside. We have tremendous.
Rest in peace.
No one
crowds,
told him. It's
as you
okay.
see, I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did
This-
you
this-
see
Go ahead, sir.
one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way
did.
far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. I'm worried about you. Worried about the people.
He found hard crime rate.
negative
To
effect.
jail. No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 35, 40,000
All right, you
people
wanna-
at these rallies.
Just
Yes.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I
Poor
will.
Chris.
He's been totally irresponsible the way
He's
in
like,
which he has
Someone buy
Can
him
we
a
just
beer
calm down?
afterwards.
social distancing.
bless him.
People wearing masks, basically encourage them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
Nobody cares.
gentlemen?
Are there no
can we move on to
commercials?
The economy.
Yes.
I need
The
a break.
economy
I
is,
need a
think it's
break.
fair to say recovering faster than expected from the shutdown
Much
This-
faster.
in the second quarter. The unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we
plague.
closed it down, which
Wow.
was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records
That's actually
as
a
it
point
does
that
it.
resonates
We
with a lot
don't
of
need
people.
somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right, your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid
Well.
a total of $750 in
Wrong.
taxes.
Sir,
Many
sir,
millions.
wait,
How
wait,
many-
no, sir, it's
That's
just
the
two.
wrong
Yeah,
statement.
I understand. You've agreed
if they're
to the
not
2
doing
minutes,
well?
so
That's
please
not-
let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first
I
president.
mean,
of
we
the
all
United
know what
States
Trump's doing right
to
now. It's
leave
just to
office, having fewer
go
jobs
aggressive.
in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right, your time is up, sir. We are going to get to.
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
the
let's-
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know
We're
how
going to
I do that? When you
get,
took a
gentlemen, we're
phony
going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years.
It's
I know
very
that you
unlikely
pay
we're going to have another
a lot
debate,
of
you
other
guys.
taxes,
This
but
is
I'm
it.
asking you the specific question. Is it
Better
true that
enjoy
you
it while
paid
you can.
Yeah,
$750
this is it.
in
I
federal
would be
income
shocked if this
taxes
lasts
each
beyond
of those 2 years?
another
Paid
20 minutes.
millions of
I think it's
dollars
pretty
in
much over
taxes,
after this
millions
one.
of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
one year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know what you want to do? Go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have I built a
Sir,
great
I'm asking you a
company.
specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you.
And I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand
return.
all of that.
But let
No, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it.
I-
And you'll get to
When?
see it. But let
In
me just
July?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every
Business
other
people.
private person, unless they're stupid, they go through
Look at
the
those
laws, and that's
gaffes.
what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build the building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a
Okay.
massive, which by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now the man got
Yeah,
fired
no,
right after that happened, but
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code.
That's
and
true.
He does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, and I'm going to
That's
eliminate
not the
those
tax
cuts
code that's at fault.
and make sure that we invest in
Wrong
the people who
tax
in fact
code.
need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you
Ask
do it
them-
over
Oh,
20, the last 25 years?
Because
I
you
wanna-
weren't
why didn't you
president.
do it over
Because
the
you
last
weren't
25
president
years? No,
screwing
no,
things
no.
up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were a
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've
Ooh.
done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing,
Okay,
including
gentlemen.
fixing the broken military that you gave me,
Let's-
including
let's-
taking care of
We're
your
talking,
vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy.
Yeah.
I'd
No,
like to ask
no,
you
no more
about your
debates after
plans
this, you
going
guys.
forward,
This is it.
because, Mr. Vice President, your
No.
economic plan, if you were to be
Who do you
elected
think pulls it?
president,
Like
focuses a
Biden's
lot
people
on
say
big
he's just not
government,
going to
big
participate
taxes,
anymore.
big spending. I want to focus first
Yeah.
on the taxes. You propose more than $4
I just
trillion
don't know.
over a decade in new
Like
taxes.
they're going to use this as example
on
to say like, no.
individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one.
Did he just do a
And
little
number
hand
two,
wave?
it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from
You're just
ships
throwing out so
to
much funny
steel
money
to
numbers.
buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But
in
respectfully,
America.
sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when
dollars.
you were vice president
Because
with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
That's right.
your
I got
tax
it-
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what
Yeah,
happened?
you got it done.
Our economy boomed
And,
like it's never
and
boomed.
the economy
Well,
is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me
wait, no,
finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for the American people.
But let me.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies-
already here, they'll leave
Hardly
for
any
other
companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Harvey,
depression, the likes of which you've never
Has
seen.
never seen.
We
Vice
You have
inherited
never seen.
the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
He blew
booming.
it. He
It
blew it.
wasn't booming.
It
It was
was
the weakest
Well, sir,
recovery
is it
since
fair to wait? Is it fair
1929.
to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came in.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even
No.
before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Trump is
So-
legitimately
Wait,
stunned
number
at that
two.
statement.
Number three.
They said
No.
it would take. No,
Getting
you were number
triggered.
two.
No.
Chris, they said it would
This
take
guy
a
is
miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile industry.
manufacturing.
All right, let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
No,
came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan.
Trump
and
has the
went to
facts on
Ohio.
his
They're not
side
happening.
And they
on
didn't come
Wait,
to
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All
Down
right, gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe. And
but-
no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars.
He couldn't
to
come up
manage.
with the
He makes
number,
millions
but
of
now
dollars.
it's billions.
And also, while we're at it, why is it? Just out
Billions.
of curiosity.
On the
It says
spot.
it's a,
Made it
it's a
up.
boatload. It's just a
Moscow's
boatload.
wife gave your son
It's a lot.
$3.5
Made up the
million.
number on the
What
spot.
did he do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that.
deserve
Wait, wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question, let
true.
him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really?
It's
He didn't
totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
it's
Mr.
totally,
President, please. you've asked
totally
a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he
That's
didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million,
Oh.
Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
I
It
don't
is
even know
not
what's going
true.
on
Really?
anymore.
Mr.
Oh.
President,
but Mr.
it's
That
an
is
open
actually
discussion,
true.
Please.
No,
He
You
did
have-
get
you-
$3.5 million
Well,
from
there's, it
You
is
have
not
raised an
The
issue.
wife of
Let
a Russian
Mr.
mayor.
Vice President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no
This
experience?
is not
in
good for
energy?
America, you guys.
Look,
This
President,
is
no
my
job.
son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Well, where
Mr.
did he come
President,
in?
Let him answer.
Trump brought him
He
up.
won't let me answer because he
Yeah.
knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly
By
discredited.
who?
And
The
Ukraine.
media.
By everybody. Well,
Whoa.
by the
By
media,
everybody.
by our allies, by the
Because
World
they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact,
Mr.
even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
Under
ask you
oath.
this, Joe.
Every-
No,
under
no,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under
You got $3.5
he
million from
testified-
Moscow.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I did
really?
it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
No,
testified.
no, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because
job.
Some people don't do
Well,
a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say
You
they're
get
here's the
wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This.
Hey, let
this
me just
person.
say, Joe.
No. Mr. President,
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President,
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he
not true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about.
That's so
families
interesting.
and
I mean,
ethics.
that's a legitimate
wanna
question
do
to
that.
ask.
I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote-
a fortune by
That's
coming
right.
down
Go
and
ahead.
helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's
Every-
such a.
they're right
That's
here.
it, Mr.
That's
President.
such
Every
a great.
single one of them lost.
This
a
is not
fortune
Oh,
about
man.
my
helping
family or
us
his
with
family. It's
government.
about your family.
They
The
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million.
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no.
I need a
gotta be
commercial
honest, it's
break.
a very important
Try to be
question.
No,
honest.
I
I don't think there's going to be
No,
one.
stood up
the answer to the
and
Chris
question
Wallace is
no.
yelling.
Ukraine.
No,
He's
sir,
yelling
$1
now.
billion
Sir,
if you don't
That
get rid of
is
the trust.
You know what, you're-
absolutely not
stop.
You're on
true.
tape
You're-
doing it.
you're gonna
You're on
have-
tape.
True.
Gentlemen,
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice, but
he's
I
on
see it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Oh,
deal.
Wow.
We have
It's like a school teacher.
6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the
Maybe you should just
country would
answer
be
the
better
question,
served
though.
if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Well,
interrupting.
that's all
than
right, but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir,
No,
less
you.
than,
It
no,
was you.
less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both
Are we going
sides,
to do this again?
was
This
what
has been
directly
cleared up.
led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing
Veins
anti-Semitic
bulging.
bile,
I'm there.
and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides.
This is
No
incorrect.
president's ever
Finish
said
the
anything
statement.
like that.
Finish the statement.
It is who's
Now,
2
second-
minutes, sir.
Second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And
It's
then
a Bible.
what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man,
What is this
this
based
man
on?
is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he did a
racism?
crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans.
That's
super
actually
predators. And
Hillary
they've never
Clinton that did
forgotten
that,
it.
not
They've
Joe
never
Biden did
forgotten
that.
it, Joe.
No, no, sir. It's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they called you a super predator. And I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the Black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. Because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio.
Get to the
I
question,
have
bro.
Excuse me, Portland, the sheriff
That's
just
not what
came
we were
out
talking
today and he
about.
said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even
No, but
say
he's
the
just
word law
responding to
enforcement, because if you
Joe's
say those words, you're
comment.
going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those
So
words,
he's-
Joe?
he's
Why
wasting
don't you
his
say
time.
the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us
I
in
thought this was
Portland,
about
we would
race.
put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we
Minneapolis.
believe in law and order, but you don't. The top
Yay,
10
Seattle.
cities and just about the top 40 cities
We're a national
are
disaster.
run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I
I'll
want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for Blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this
Wow.
country, in education and work and in in law enforcement and the way in which it's
I believe that
enforced.
might be the first
But look,
time
the vast majority of police officers
a
are
presidential
up said it.
candidate,
honorable
mainstream
men and women.
presidential
They
candidate has
risk their
said
lives
that.
every day to take care of us.
Very
But
surprising.
there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable.
He almost
They
said
have to be held
destroyed, I
accountable.
think.
And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out.
Kumbaya.
So we change the way in which we have more transparency. And
If you're watching us right now, just know that right after the debate, we're going to do 30
to
minutes
George Floyd.
of a
These
reaction.
cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor.
It will be
Most
interesting to say
don't
the
like
least.
it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. When, and by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
What is peaceful
President-
protest? When they run through the middle of the town
President Trump-
and burn down your
President Trump,
stores and kill people all
President
over
Trump,
the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
I did
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd
it.
like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order
Please.
in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place. And you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh, it's
radical
totally
about
racist.
Wallace
racial
knows it.
sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status
Oh,
in life. It
man.
was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars. To
Trump
teach
definitely did not
very bad
study
ideas,
this.
and frankly, very sick ideas.
If
And-
he did,
and
he would have a
really,
better answer
They were
for this
teaching
question.
people to hate our country, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm
No
not going to
one
allow
did.
that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's
That's not
racist.
You just don't.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this.
don't
than he
know.
does.
Let him finish.
The fact is that
This spells
there
disaster.
is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big
Oh,
difference.
man.
It makes a gigantic
And
difference.
I don't think
in the way a
Biden's
child
studied
is
this
able
as
to
well.
grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are
Love
of a
Scranton.
different faith. They look down on people
That's where he's from.
who are a different color. In fact, we're all
Screw
Americans.
me.
The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism.
Why isn't he
in
looking at the
America.
hard
I
cam?
mean, President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what
Couldn't-
happened
okay.
in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened.
thought he lost it
Frankly,
after
it was
Ferguson.
more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
But the
Lord.
reason
This
is that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't
Wow.
want to talk
Now,
like you about law and order.
Violent
And you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law.
That's an easy
You
question.
Are
followed
you
it,
in
and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go
Yes, I'm
ahead.
in
say it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
law and order.
Use his left.
Law and
Let
order.
him, let him.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 15% in our
numbers don't
administration.
lie.
All right.
It's gone up on
Went-
his watch.
Went down
He-
much more
he
than
had-
ours.
All right, we're
He
now.
is
You're,
president of
Mr.
the
President,
United
you're going
States
to,
of America.
We
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the book.
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because
the
we're now going to
places
talk
we-
about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
those
my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America.
Guys, I got to be
this
honest. My
summer
head hurts
particularly,
right
and
now.
you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are
Nobody's
going
ever
up
seen
100,
it.
150.
He couldn't remember the number.
200% crime.
That has to be
It is
Republican.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because
did
he'll
say law
lose
and
his
order.
radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have
We would
our
run it
suburbs
the
would be
way-
gone. By the way,
Suburbs.
our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
wouldn't
seen.
know a
before.
suburb unless he took a
Joel.
wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead.
I was,
Wait a minute.
I was
So much
raised
better
in the
than-
suburbs. This is not 1950.
They're so proud.
All these dog
I was
whistles
raised
don't
in the
work
mean
anymore.
streets of the
Suburbs
suburbs.
are by and
Streets of
large
the suburbs
integrated.
of
There's
Scranton.
many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs.
Oh, back
His
to
failure
COVID.
to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing.
Yeah.
First of all, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support,
It means
let me, if I might finish the question, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding in his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be
Drastic
That's
engaged
not
go
what
in
they're
down.
talking about,
That's-
Chris. That's
well,
not what
that-
they're
that's
He's talking
exactly-
about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any
Would-
law
Would you
support.
look?
He has no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
not. Look,
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
we don't have time to do that. Look,
Name
folks,
one law enforcement group that came out and
I think,
supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
Oh,
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had
Oregon.
more than 100
Oregon.
straight days
Oregon.
of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned
We're not
into
peaceful.
riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon
Good
and
question,
said,
Chris.
hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes,
Wow.
but you'd stop the days
great
and
question.
months of violence
Mm.
in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am
Oh,
former vice
okay.
president. I've made it clear.
Ooh, that's a
I've
cop
made it
No,
out.
clear
what
in my
would
public
you do?
statements That the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it.
But
should
you've
be
never called
prosecuted.
for the people,
He's never
the
said
leader.
that.
Excuse me, sir. You had never called for the
Trump
leaders in
interrupts at the
Portland
wrong
and
time.
in Oregon to call,
Because
bring in the
Stop
National
saying that.
Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in
Oregon.
fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way.
Oh,
Look here.
oh, really?
here.
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
that-
I sent
sir,
in
no,
the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals to
question.
get the
Oh,
killer.
man,
the
Chris
young
Wallace
man in
is
the
so
middle of
mad
the
right
street.
now.
They shot him, and
Right.
for 3
Mr.
days,
President
and
Trump,
just-
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything. I
please
had to send
interrupt
in
and-
the U.S. Marshals.
President
They
Trump,
took care of business.
go ahead,
You
sir.
need to
And by the
shush.
way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all
I
about.
don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said
She said that.
that.
And so here's the
All right.
But here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point
sir.
is that that's
She
what
did say
he
that, right?
trying to rile everything
I
up.
don't. I'm
He
not even
doesn't
sure I
wanna
understand the
calm things
quote.
down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly
Well, wait, I
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you
Oh,
have repeatedly,
Wait,
you have
just one
repeated, no,
second.
you've been talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love
you
to
know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You
we
know, if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would very quickly.
we can do
Oh.
that.
Send
No,
in
I-
the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing.
Wow, I think that's the
extremist
first
groups.
mention of
But
Antifa
are
in
you
the presidential
willing
debate
tonight
ever.
to condemn
Antifa, holla.
ISIS and militia groups
Sure.
and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that,
specifically
but
Do it.
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right
So
wing.
what are you
If look,
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Oh.
You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to
supremacists.
condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right-wing
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
What?
Somebody's
that?
got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a
His
right-wing
own-
problem.
his
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director.
This
said
is
the
a
threat
left-wing
of
Go ahead,
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Actually, that was
You got
Trump's
it.
not
time.
militia. That's what
Oh, really?
his
It's an idea.
FBI.
He said, "Proud Boys, stand
director
back
said.
and
Well,
stand
you know
by."
what?
No,
Is
we're
what
done,
he
we're
said?
done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody
We're moving.
When a bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's not
administration.
an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas. that are-
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group,
now moving on to the Trump
and
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a
in 2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to
He'll overthrow you.
when the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things where I had to fight
Conja?
both flanks
I-
and behind me
I
and,
don't
and
like that
above,
term.
there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way,
I
there
need
was
food.
unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years.
I
They
need
were calling
sustenance.
and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of
Space
the
Force.
VA, which was
Shout
a
out
mess
Space
under
Force.
him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some
No one's
people
ever
say
seen
maybe
it.
the most
No one's ever
important.
seen the job.
By
that
the
we've
end
done.
of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings.
To be fair,
And if
that's
I
because
were
the
a member
Republicans
of
were
his
blocking
party,
it.
because they have a little different philosophy. I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Fine, sir.
300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President
Under
Trump?
this
You have 2
president-
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent.
Space Force.
When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, The fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about
Triggered.
the bounty
Just got
on the
drawn
heads
off
of
sides.
American
Ooh,
soldiers.
Son got
Trump's
No, no, no.
about to go out.
That's right.
Mi-
And
Mr.
by the way,
Mr.
my
President,
son-
wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get
Wait, Joe didn't
two-minute
get to finish his time.
answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule,
Whoa.
okay, sir?
never
Man,
keeps his
Chris
word.
Wallace is
No,
shaking
no,
right
no,
now. He's
I'm not
so
asking-
angry.
that was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being
Here we go.
losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there
really?
were heroes.
Really?
And I
Are
resent.
you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking
I'm
about
talking
Hunter?
about my son, Bo Biden. You're
I
talking
don't know.
about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah, you
Hunter
know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It
for
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice
Oh.
president. Once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
This is such
he
a
made
low blow,
fortune
man.
in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son-
fortune,
My
Gentlemen,
son,
and he didn't have a
my
job.
son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
But
dollars?
he wasn't given
All right,
tens of
but-
millions of
he was
dollars.
given
That
tens
is
of
totally,
millions of
that's been
President Trump-
totally
President Trump,
discredited.
we've already been
Totally discredited.
we've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, as the moderator,
Oh,
sir, I'm
gosh.
going to make
I know,
a
but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, right.
from the
Let's talk
mayor
about-
of Moscow,
let's
That
talk
is
about-
not
I think it's a
true.
Gentlemen,
That
terrible thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers'
Gen-
money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres.
Can I send a gift
They
basket to
have
Chris Wallace?
displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires
Can
on
you send
climate
hugs
change,
to
Mr.
Chris
President, you
Wallace?
said, I don't think
Free hugs.
the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris
Oh,
Climate
man, my head
Accord.
hurts.
You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally.
Well, I mean,
But I
COVID
haven't
has something to do
destroyed
with
our
that.
businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are
Spelled
actually
disaster
very
is what
happy
he's
about
saying?
what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate
even
air,
have a cigarette.
immaculate water, and do whatever else we
Immaculate.
can that's good. You know, we're planting a billion
And
trees, a
insulin
billion tree
is cheap
project.
as water.
It is very
You
exciting.
believe
Cheap as
that
water.
human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions
I
contributes to
appreciate
the
Chris
global
kind of
warming
breaking down
I
the
think
question
a lot
for
of
him.
things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their
Is that
forests.
true? I have no idea.
I
I've
was
never heard
with
of
the
this.
head of a major country, It's a
See if you can look
forest
that up,
state.
Jamie.
He said, sir, we have
Thanks, Jamie.
trees
Look it up for us.
that are far more,
Where's our
they
intern?
ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car. And you're talking about a tiny
What
difference.
car?
And then what would happen because of the cost of the car?
I want to
you
know
would
this
have
car.
at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of California,
$3,500.
they've simply
No,
ignored
but you would take
your
a lot of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all
What?
over the place
What?
for an extra little bit
Okay.
of gasoline. And
That's not-
and I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just
All right.
crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart.
This is a very coherent
Talk
answer.
about
I mean,
someone
even
who
if you
has
disagree,
no-
this is
no relationship to
coherent
foreign policy.
compared to what
Brazil, the
we heard from
rainforests
Trump
of
was
Brazil
now.
are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon
Cars
is
with
absorbed
computers,
in that
though.
rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion. Say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't
I don't think
have to
Trump
have
knows if it's true or not. I think he's
automobiles
just
that exist now. This is the guy who says that. Well, the fact is, it's all true. And here's
He's
the
talking
deal.
about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they
the
want to rip
Biden
down
plan.
Go for a
buildings
minute, and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
You okay, Ray?
Where airplanes are out of
Wait a minute.
business,
That's it.
where two-car systems
No.
are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's
true.
not true either, right?
Not
This
true.
is a
The cows,
What
that's
the
true.
hell is
100
happening?
trillion.
Look.
That's more money than our country could make.
I am
in
That is
100
almost ready to
years
just
if we
not
quit
but
on
the
this.
case.
All right, let
It
me,
will-
let me,
it
let me,
will
let me,
destroy our
because I
country.
actually, wait a minute.
We made it
I
this far.
actually
Only
have
6 minutes
studied
left.
your plan.
I
and
don't.
it
I think it's
includes
going to go
upgrading
over.
4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building
I don't think we can
1.5
do
million
another one,
energy
guys. This is too
efficient
much.
homes.
Just go
So the
take a break,
question
DeCruz.
becomes, the
I love
president is
it.
saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good
100
paying
trillion.
jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They-
billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up.
We are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up
lost Jordy.
15% of the world's
Jordy's
problems.
done.
Off the set.
We, in fact, but
Jordy just walked
the
off.
rest of the world, we got to
She's
get
done.
them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen,
What
we,
Ray, remember
why
Mask
didn't he do it
Into?
for 47 years? You were
Mask
vice
Into?
president. Why didn't you get the world?
Yeah.
China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the
Yeah,
way,
DeCruz.
he made a couple of statements. The Green New
Are you
Deal
blaming me
is
for India?
$100 trillion.
That is
not
Yeah.
not
$100
my
billion.
plan.
That's
The
Dust
Green
in the
well,
air.
you want to rebuild
Deal
every
is not
Through the
my
air.
plan.
I want to
All
rebuild
right,
every.
If he knew
you asked-
anything
wait, no, no,
about,
wait.
if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about,
statement
Gentlemen.
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
okay.
that is
What
not
he
You're,
did
true.
sir,
is he
you're done in
said-
this segment.
He called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not.
it on tape. He
That is-
said
He did say that.
stupid
It's on tape,
bastards.
No,
but he was
sir.
kidding around.
Stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that.
play
to
it.
the
Stop.
military.
Play it.
Go ahead.
You're
Mr.
on
Vice
tape.
President
The,
answered his final question.
the final question
What was
is, I
his
can't
final
remember which of
question?
all his rantings. was the
I'm having a
final
little
question.
trouble-
much.
I'm having a little trouble
That's
myself, but
Yeah.
and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea
I
of
thought
what,
Jordy
what
was
your
going to come back
environmental
instead.
change
She
will do.
muted her
Green
mic
New
and
Deal.
left again.
will pay for
Did she
itself
mute her mic?
as we
Oh,
move
that's
good.
forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build.
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't?
Oh.
Well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
That's
I
huge.
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden-
lost the radical left.
I,
That's
sup-
done.
I support
you
the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change? Or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our first lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot.
Kind of difficult to say.
Solicited
it's a
is
disaster
okay.
when you are
You're
in charge of the
soliciting.
country.
You're asking. They send it back. You send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots.
Guys.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other
This is
thing,
bad.
it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well, because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months, because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what
Wow.
happened in Manhattan.
This
Take
is
a look
bad.
at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with
time,
that.
sir.
All run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All
You're-
run by
you're-
Democrats. It's
He just looked at the
it's a
clock.
rigged election.
You're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so, because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them. We don't like them. We don't like them.
But what are
They
you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it? If
left
there
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now,
do
what
is
are
you
gonna
go
do?
and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and
no,
that's
I'm not-
okay.
I know
Or
your
you go and
complaint. I'm
vote.
asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
received-
vote. You go and
No,
vote
but what
like
I'm
they
saying is, what are you
like they
gonna do
used
about the
to in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers.
Attacking the
This is a
USPS.
horrible thing for our country.
There is no.
This is not.
There is no.
This is not
evidence
going
What is
to end
happening?
well.
Going
Okay,
for in
this
the
is
open
not
act.
going
Vice
to
President
end well.
Biden.
5 states
fact,
have had
go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last
I'm so lost.
decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by the time by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
of the
wrong.
outcome.
You're wrong.
No, I want to
votes.
continue with you on
I
this,
love
Vice
counting the
President Biden. because
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes
in
a
fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me, Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they
That can
missed
be fraud.
the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I
I'm
forgot that the
concerned
audience was
any
there.
court would settle this because here's the
There's
deal.
been no noise from the audience the
When
entire time.
when you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify
'Cause I
that's
can't
you
forge a
before
signature.
the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you
I
have
a final-
80 million
Gentlemen,
ballots
I have a final
sent in
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't. And
This
already-
argument's
All right,
crazy.
so now-
Fraud
Mail
is
service.
This is
Gentlemen,
nuts.
gentlemen,
If
my
you're
final
president-
question is,
80
in
million
8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking.
It's-
If
it's-
he
In
wins,
8
it's not
states,
legitimate.
election
He's
workers are prohibited
by his own argument.
currently
I
by
don't
law, 8
understand.
states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and
Yes.
flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
Could be months.
until we find out who the new president is. So
Why is he
I-
saying that?
First for you, sir.
He should not
finally,
say
for
months.
the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your
Fat
supporters
chance. Good
to
luck
stay
with that,
calm
Chris.
during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell
And
you
what
what,
does that
from
mean,
a
not go
common
along?
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're going
tell
to
you
tell
what
your
it means.
people to take to the
It means you
street?
have a fraudulent election. You're
And what are
sending
you
out
gonna do?
80
And
million
what would you
ballots.
do
They're not,
about that?
they're not equipped to, these people
This
aren't
is
equipped to
crazy.
handle it. Number two,
Okay.
they cheat.
He's gone off
cheat.
the rails completely.
Found
His people
ballots
couldn't
in
have
a
told him
waste
to say this.
3 days ago, and they all had the name
All right.
military ballots. They were military.
all he has
they
to
all
say
had the name
is-
Trump on them.
They just
Vice
say
President
That's-
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is
I mean,
counted?
just answer
and
that
will you
question.
pledge
Like, that's all he
not
had to answer. He
declare
didn't answer
victory
that.
until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a
but-
look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I
in
asked you.
Manhattan.
You had an opportunity
Look
to
at
respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome, and I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to
if in
see an
fact,
honest
Okay,
ballot count.
gentlemen,
We-
you say that's the end of it. This is
I
the end
wanna
of
see
this
an
debate.
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
gonna
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go on.
No,
President
Or not.
we're not
Vice
doing
President
this
Biden,
again.
it's been an interesting hour
Why
and a
not?
half. I want to thank you both for
There's no way.
participating
They're
in the first
putting
of
their
3
stride.
debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night. Thank you.
Biden is not looking at Trump. Melania, who's that? Melania's going on stage.
Did she ask Chris if she could go on stage?
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Hi, honey. Are you okay?
No kiss?
It's COVID. Right?
Oh yeah.
But
You're
they're
not.
married.
Have you been kissing your spouse this whole time? That's so gross. Look, she's wearing a mask
She's wearing a
next
mask.
to him.
Her
You got
dress is fabulous.
I like the color. of her dress.
Don't get too close, Joe.
Melania wears the hell out of a suit, though.
Oh yeah.
Melania is, stylish.
Shout out Western Union University. Oh, that
Hey,
was
I think
Colby Covington. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's the guy you were talking about, Ray.
Yeah,
What
he's
did
a
he
troll
say?
in the UFC. He
Oh, I
said
He's a
didn't hear
pro.
that.
Okay, all right.
he's
let's,
that
uh,
guy that Trump called after he won in the UFC
How did he get a ticket?
because he he wears MAGA to all of his fights and he wins. And Trump called him after his win the other day, like during an interview.
All right, guys. We let's talk through the debate tonight, or the semblance of a debate.
Or whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever that was. Thank you for all of you who were watching, stayed throughout,
Yes. Thank you so
shared
much.
comments. It was amazing. We're so happy you're here. And I'm glad that the stream stayed active the entire time and we didn't get booted. Guys, if you have questions, please type it into the chat. I'm going to talk to you guys first, and then I'm looking at the chat too to see if there's any questions that you guys have for us. Not that we would have anything that important to say, but if you want to hear our opinions. Okay, starting
Sure.
with Jordy, and then I'll work with Ray, and then I'll come back to me. But let's ask the question: who won tonight?
Oh gosh, nobody. None of us won. I feel like Trump was better at the beginning, but Joe Biden was better at the end. So it depends on when you're watching. I guess my head is still spinning. It was a little bit of a mess, a little bit hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ray has. Who's Ray? Wait, do you have something to say, Ray?
Oh, my kids just Marco Polo'd me. Sorry.
Oh, that's sweet. I just went in to say goodnight to my kids.
Oh,
And
yay.
that's why I disappeared for a minute. So it really depends on, each of them did better with certain answers. Some of them just didn't even answer the question at all and spoke to something else. Trump's fatal mistake was that he kept asking rhetorical questions, which he knew they were rhetorical, but Chris Wallace took it as him actually questioning Joe Biden and then gave Joe Biden the floor to answer Trump's question. It's like, you asked him a
Exactly.
question. You asked him a
Exactly.
question. I'm like, he's just being rhetorical as a persuasive device, but
No,
that
but
didn't
I mean,
work
what
out so
happened
great.
was, but he lost his chance to speak on certain things where I knew that he would have good answers if he had prepped, and he lost that opportunity because of that. Sorry, Jordy, keep going. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
that's fine. That's one of my favorite lines from the night was, "He's Putin's puppy." That was a good one.
All right, Ray, who won tonight?
There's have we talked about the movie Alien versus Predator?
You would do
Sure.
it this way.
On the
Natural
movie
segue.
poster, the tagline of the movie was "Whoever wins, we lose." I feel like that is more appropriate. I mean, I think the movie's like 15 years old, but that's very appropriate tonight.
Yeah.
None of this, it's really a non-story, right? Because I was thinking about this going in. For Trump, whatever happened, he'd be able to control the news cycle and just he's not unwilling to hijack it anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really, however poorly he did or Biden did, there's always going to be another story that comes out. It's like willing or unwilling that's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I think the last answer about Trump completely torpedoing the elections was pretty scary. So it doesn't really make the argument doesn't make sense too, because if he wins, he's already delegitimized it. So I don't understand. It's like I don't know, some mutual destruction or something.
Yeah. Okay. I think no one won. I think it was, and
So
I
are you
don't
saying
think.
whoever wins, we lose?
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't think anyone won
Trademark.
because I think that I don't, and I would have said that before the debate also, because essentially, like, this is not going to move the needle for anybody. Although it appears Caroline Jones, who basically says that she was undecided and she decided not to consider Trump at all anymore. But I think that I'm curious if that's actually prevalent tonight, like after the debate, like if people are like, there's no way I'm going to consider Biden now. There's no way I'm going to consider Trump. I know Trump's tactic in the beginning was to get under Joe's skin and just went all out aggressive, trying to trip him up. And kudos to Biden. He did a pretty decent job of not, I mean, we did hear "shut up, man." And
We didn't
Thompson,
we didn't get a look fat.
yeah, Thompson Valiaco said, "How many shut up man memes can we expect?" By the way, guys, you guys heard me talk about Dipu.com years ago. Thompson and I wrote on Dipu.com together back in the day.
Nice.
So,
Thompson, you get the ball rolling with
Everyone
those
go to the
memes.
Wayback Machine and look that up.
don't
Look
don't
that
look
up
that
on the
up.
Wayback Machine, everyone.
Thompson, go delete everything. Well, you can't, so we're good.
You can't. Yeah.
Will you watch the second debate, Jordy?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's a train wreck. I don't watch Real Housewives. I don't watch any reality TV. So this is my source of entertainment.
This is
And they already they
keeping
took
it
the Olympics
Kardashian.
away. Yeah, they took the Olympics away. So this is all I have for this year
Yeah.
is these debates. So they better keep having them. Just because this first one was a little bit of a disaster or a lot of bit of a disaster doesn't mean that they have the right to take it away. Maybe they'll hit their stride, or maybe I feel like Chris Wallace, he kind of waffled between being a moderator and being a debater, where he would jump in and he would start, asking a lot of follow-up questions and fact-checking Trump a little bit more than he fact-checked Biden, or bringing up counterpoints. And I'm like, wait, are you in the debate? Are you moderating? I think he did a good job in terms of his consistency, but you could tell that I think it'd be good to try someone else. Do we know who's going to moderate the next debate?
Yeah, I mean, they typically only moderate one debate. Usually,
Yeah, so it'll be someone else.
But
I mean,
honestly, Chris Wallace
it's
did
so bad.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad for him because it was
the first
a
10 minutes was
disaster.
a complete train wreck. I mean, there was nothing that could be on. I mean, on I guess both ends of it, they were just talking over each other. Trump especially was just a huge train wreck. Imagine if it's like George Stephanopoulos on the next debate. What that's gonna be like.
I mean, I think they're gonna have a lot of what we're gonna hear the Democrats say, don't give him another debate, is what we're gonna hear the Democrats say. They're gonna say pull out of the
Pelosi already
debates.
said that, right? She's like,
Yeah,
She already
Pelosi
said not to do it at all.
Yeah, but I think after tonight, the Democrats are going to say there's no way Joe should do it again. I can hear it. Ray, will you watch the second debate?
I guess so. I'm only gonna watch it if we're doing this. I mean, honestly, like there was like 3 or 4 sound bites there, and you know that everything is going to be dominated on the left by the election statements, and then on the other side, I don't know what they point to. They can't bring up the cocaine stuff, can they? Like,
so I want to comment on that. I think both candidates did this. Like, Biden went after Trump's kids, but it was in response to Trump going after Biden's kid. And I don't know, like, addiction is tough. But to say that kind of stuff on air I thought was a little underhanded to say that about.
But in the rural,
Hunter.
like, Trump's base in rural America deals with a ton of like opioid addiction. So this is
Right.
crazy for him to go there. You
Yeah,
know,
go
Right.
after the corruption, don't necessarily, and how that affects the American taxpayer,
Yeah,
but
don't
don't
take
go after the
cocaine.
addiction.
Yeah,
It's not related to anything governmental or to
Yeah, but
policy. If it's not related to
what's
policy,
hot,
I really
though,
don't
like-
care.
Sorry, Ray, what were you saying?
yeah, but what's the hot soundbite from that though? That the Hunter Biden cost taxpayers, or that
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I
people
don't
are
think
gonna-
I
he
don't think
said
there
the
was
word
a
cocaine.
no, I don't
He
think
said
there
the
was
word
a sound
cocaine.
bite there.
Talked about
No,
some.
the two big ones. I'm looking at Twitter too. One is obviously like Caroline mentioned here in our chat, and also you mentioned it, is that the election answer is what Democrats are going to go back to. They're going to play that everywhere, and they're going to play that up. I'm actually super disappointed in Trump's answer because if you're the president and then you say that the ballots are going to be this way, because Chris Wallace was trying to get this from him. He was trying to ask him, what do you want to do? What do you want to do about it? And Trump keeps saying it could take months. And with the country already, not sure about what's going to happen with the elections, I don't think that was a very good thing to do. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. But so white supremacy. That's one, because I'm already seeing on quite a bit of media, and Joel Simpson mentioned it here, that Donald Trump did not condemn white supremacy. I'm not sure that's true, because I think there was a lot of talking over each other. And I think Donald Trump was trying to say, like, okay, name who I should say this to. Chris Wallace was trying to come up with a name. And I think he said Proud Boys and etc. I don't know that the Proud
Trump
Boys are
said-
considered white supremacists. Like, I don't think they're
But he
considered white
said
supremacists.
Proud Boys. He said Proud
Stand-
Boys.
stand down and
back
stand by.
Stand by.
Oh, sorry.
which
Is it what was the? How did he say it? Stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand
Down
by.
or
Yeah.
stand back, but he definitely said stand by afterwards.
Yeah. That's gonna get a lot of play. I mean, but again, it's not gonna convince Trump's people of anything, and it's not gonna convince, and it's just gonna rile up the Democrats and the left on this. Alex Henning has a question.
I did know that, yes.
Alex
think
says,
they got
according
married.
to Wikipedia,
They
did they
got
actually get married? Oh
Yeah,
wow!
they were married and then they just got divorced.
That's like a bit.
Yep.
Isn't
True
is that
story.
like a biblical principle?
That's right.
That's
like a
very Old
Mosaic
Testament of
principle.
them.
It's very Old Testament. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he was going for, I'm sure. I think both of them failed at the race question. Trump was talking about race issues. He didn't mention, the record unemployment in the African American community. I don't believe he mentioned that. I could have missed something because it was chaotic. And then he kind of transitioned straight to, I have law enforcement support. And so he really missed that opportunity. And then Biden didn't do much better. He kind of went to, I would have everyone to the White House, civil rights leaders, police enforcement, and we'd work, law enforcement, and we'd work it out. And it was just like kumbaya, but not particularly helpful, very idealistic, and not particularly helpful in this super inflammatory time of race relations. So I don't think either of them did very well at that question. It
Yeah, I
was
think
pretty disappointing.
Biden. I said Trump had not prepped for the critical race theory question, because actually, that talking about critical race theory there, if you're on the Republican side, that is a great way to appeal to the mainstream of Americans who don't believe what critical race theory posits. But he didn't take that opportunity, and he just said, they're trying to make America look bad. But it's a lot of, like, if you go into it, I think most Americans would go like, well, we don't agree with this. I think that's how it would have been. And then I thought that Biden, I think, avoided it, just like you said, Jordy, because I don't think he wanted to get into it, because he knew that if he defended critical race theory, that it would lose him people. It would lose him many votes.
Part of the problem is that Chris Wallace used critical race theory and racial sensitivity training interchangeably. And so that they're not the same thing at all. So he basically made it sound like Trump got rid of all racial sensitivity training, when what he got rid of is specifically
but I think his
critical race
question
theory.
was racial sensitivity training and critical race theory. So I think he was just trying to say that racial sensitivity that includes critical race theory? I don't know the exact wording of the question. I don't think
He made it. He kind of used them interchangeably or grouped them together when one does not necessarily equal the other.
But
if that
even
makes
then,
sense.
it's Trump's prerogative to just attack on that question, and he missed an opportunity. I thought, because I feel like that was one of the easiest softball things for him, which he could have just used as a cudgel to beat Biden. Go ahead, Ray.
Were you surprised that Trump didn't bring up the whole Breakfast Club thing? That he said, if you vote for me, you're not black.
You ain't black.
Yeah, you ain't black.
No, I'm not surprised because I'm not sure Trump remembers that.
Oh.
I don't think
That would have been an easy one. That's
Yeah.
a good point, Ray. That would have been an easy one. That would have been an easy soundbite. So, probably would have been good. Ray, maybe you should go work for the Trump campaign and on debate prep.
There we go. Perfect.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
Destroy from the inside.
Is there anything, Jordy, and I'm going to ask this to Ray as well, but Jordy, is there anything that Biden said that you liked?
That is a really great question. I'm looking at my notes. Why don't you throw that to Ray while I gather myself?
Ray, is there anything Trump said that you liked? I'm not using it interchangeably. I think we'll ask the same question to both of you on the other side too, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, Trump had to tout economy numbers, and on that, it cannot be debated that Trump did have this economy soaring, and that it's still, the market's at like incredible levels still, so that was, I mean, that's all true stuff. Like that was what Trump had to bank on,
Yeah.
And he did
What,
a good job staying on that.
What was it that Biden said, Ray, that you liked the most? Like,
I mean, I kept saying, like, dude, after a certain point, Biden should have just gone to hard cam, just that when he said, I'm talking
when we
to
say
you.
hard cam, we're talking about when he faces the camera and the TV camera.
Yeah.
And every time he did that, he said, you.
Sorry, that was a pro wrestling term.
Yeah, hard camera
to hard cam. But
so we kept saying hard camera the whole time.
that's that distinctive of the empathy that Biden shows that is somewhat lacking from Trump, or completely lacking. So after a certain point, it's like he should have said, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, I'm talking to you, the American people. And every time he did
could
that,
say that to a certain extent, I think. But
did he say that? Well, I mean, those are powerful moments, I thought.
Jordy, back to you again. First Biden and then Trump.
Did I like that Biden said?
Yeah.
I think that Biden did a great job steering away from the family drama to kind of, he said, I don't want to talk about my family or your family. I want to talk about American families. I thought that was a smooth move. And I don't know if that's something that he prepared or something that he came up with in the moment, but it came off really well. And like he was focusing on policy and on actually winning people's votes as opposed to just bickering with Trump. So I thought that was great. In terms of Trump, am I supposed to say what I liked about Trump now or what I didn't like about Joe Biden tonight?
Yeah, to talk about what you like about Trump.
I think that when he wasn't interrupting, I think that he did a decent job of staying on message in terms of if he actually waited and wasn't interrupting, then he did a really good job of staying on message in terms of his policy achievements.
Yeah.
Talking about the vaccine, talking about what they've done to address COVID, because Joe Biden keeps saying he has no plan, he's done nothing. And then calling the economic recession his recession, when really the worst parts of the recession are in places like California, where the state is largely still shut down and half of all the unemployed in America are in California. So that, which is a Democratic supermajority across the board. So I think that he did a good job of just sticking to the talking points in terms of what his COVID accomplishments are. But the interrupting, trying to squeeze that in when it wasn't his time, just kind of added to the chaos and made it harder for the audience to follow what he was saying. It kind of just contributed more to his chaotic persona as opposed to driving home the things that he has done.
Yeah. Well,
such low-hanging fruit for Trump, in terms of being empathetic, especially with his brother passing. is like an easy opportunity, you know, when Biden's talking about, I know that you guys are missing someone at your table right now because someone might have died in your family. I mean, Trump could have just said, I know what that's like too, because my brother passed recently.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
It's,
Ray.
but he
That's very-
doesn't. But the thing is, like, one is too many line that he keeps touting is the best that he can do, which is really not normal to just say one is too many. One is too many. It's just a number still, even though it's one is too many. And so it's just such weird things that could happen that would make him a normal person to a lot of people, but he's not normal, you know?
Yeah. Well, folks, is there anything else you guys want to add before we go off the air here? I need to eat. I think I'm hangry. Like I'm super hungry.
I think there was some really great tidbits in there for comic relief, such as insulin's so cheap it's like water, and bad things happen in Philadelphia. That was another. I needed more of those. I needed more comic relief. There was a lot at the beginning. It was highly entertaining at first. Where you're like, all right, let's get this thing going. They're being feisty. They're dropping one-liners. He's calling him Putin's puppy. It was good times. And then and then it just got exhausting and kind of sad. So,
Shut up, man.
Yeah. The drinking
like a
game here has to
Thanksgiving
be
dinner.
every
Yeah.
time he says like no one has ever seen.
Yeah.
That's the real drinking game.
You can
here.
also tell that
Like,
small
nice.
pause where he's like, okay, I don't know the number. Like no one has ever seen. or like he thinks, oh, I don't have the number. Tens of thousands, you know?
billions, no, billions, billions.
Jordy, thank you. Ray, thank you. I know you guys
Yes,
have
thank you.
families and lives. I really appreciate
Aren't you
that
going to
took time.
thank Linda? Are you not going to thank
No.
Linda?
I'm petting
I'm
her
gonna-
through the screen.
Thank you, Linda. Wait, she's not making noise now.
She heard you say her name. There she goes.
Hi, Linda.
She's shy. She was making so much noise, and then you put the mic up to her mouth, and now she can't say anything.
Starch.
Where are you at, Linda?
She was
Oh, there
sleeping.
it is.
See, because you
Aw.
took her away from the mic. Never mind.
That's hilarious. Well,
Whatever, Linda.
I wonder who Linda's voting for. Once again, thank you everyone who stayed on the chat the entire time. You know
Yes,
what? We'll do
thank
this
you,
again.
friends.
We'll do this again next time.
I can't
was
survive
it?
without you two. Even if no one else comes, I need you two to get me through these
I know.
debates. And maybe even
Yeah,
election
seriously.
night. We'll just watch those.
Yeah, we'll do an
numbers
election
roll
night thing.
Or we'll stay for months until they call the election.
We'll just hang out here for months. You're gonna see like
Months.
skeletons at the
I'll
end.
be like, Sean, bring me food and water. The skeleton.
Joel Simpson, if you're here still, I'm so sorry we weren't able to play the music. I'll have to figure that out. I wasn't
I
able to
know.
make it
Yeah,
work.
get
DJ believed that next time we'll have your music before the next
Yes,
debate. He gave me permission
we needed
to do that.
it. That would have made this a lot
Um,
more fun.
Even
Thank
Joel
you.
couldn't stay till the end.
Thank you, Jennifer O'Connor. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for your comments. We also to Pokorodu. Is that something, Ray, that I should know the reference to? don't even know
I have
what that
no
is.
idea what that is.
Is that Ray
Shevin
secretly?
George, Julie George, no relations, but
That's my burner account.
Pokorodu.
Wait, the
Alex
Georges aren't
Henning.
the Georges aren't related?
They're not related. They're both my friends, but they're not related
nice.
to each other.
Oh.
And Thompson Valiakalil. Sorry, I'm racist. I didn't know how to pronounce that last name. And who else was there that we didn't know?
Shout out
Caroline
Eddie.
Jones.
Caroline Jones.
Shout out.
Caroline
Superstar. Thank you,
Jones.
Caroline. Thank you for joining us. I don't know
Aren't you
who's
glad you-
actually on the feed right now, but yeah.
Caroline, aren't you glad you joined us? You are now decided. If you hadn't have joined us,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
this is real. It's been real.
And Easy Yungui, who I don't know, who's going to take some Advil pills after this. So
Mm.
I am.
I totally am.
Or
But I think I
some
need to be-
Kirkland ibuprofen gel
Yeah.
cap.
Eddie, Phil, Sean, Hucky, they were watching. I think they were.
No food for me.
I think they were watching anonymously.
No, they were
We're
watching it
making
on
our
the TV, right,
numbers
Jordy?
drastic go up.
Yeah, they're watching it on the TV.
Thank you,
sure
Sean,
my
for your support.
kids
Oh, by the
loved
way, I
that.
do want to acknowledge that Sean created the branding for us. Thank you, Sean, for the logo that you see, the Big Brown Army Live, the banner, everything, the overlay. That's all Sean.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Sean.
Sean.
We appreciate it.
Love
Sean
And
you,
also
Ryan-
listen to Sean's podcast, album worms.
Did Sean design the set for Jordy as well?
He did. Yes.
Oh, okay. See, he's all
This
over
is
the
his
place.
set. And he let me get Linda. So
That's great.
Mm.
4 months ago.
God bless you, Sean. That's
He's the real
you got a
MVP.
Noah's Ark situation going on there.
Need a real MVP.
All right, everybody. Good night.